Hey guys, in today's video I'm going to be giving you my top 5 mirrorless cameras for recording video in 2018. We're talking cameras that have extensive features for videography like 4K capabilities, cinematic picture profiles, good autofocus, and so on. First on my list we have the Panasonic GH4S, and this really comes as no surprise. If you're a video-oriented person and perhaps even a small-time filmmaker, then you definitely know about this camera. And chances are this is a camera you know you need to have. We have a 10.2 megapixel micro four thirds sensor with dual native ISO, so the low light capabilities are incredible. This is definitely the most uncompromised video making tool that you can get at this size at the moment. At $2,300 for the body, this is also far from cheap. However, a person that buys a camera like this probably isn't buying it as a hobbyist, but rather as a work tool to make some money. Second, we have the Panasonic GH5, which again comes as no surprise. This camera was originally released before the GH5S, and as you'd expect, the GH5S is a slightly better version. That really shouldn't deter you from the fact that the GH5 is an absolute beast of a camera. It has a similar sized but slightly smaller micro four thirds sensor to the GH5S, though it has a lot more megapixels at 20.3. The rest of the features are pretty much very similar. Unlike the GH5S, the GH5 has 5-axis image stabilization, a 6K anamorphic mode, and at 20.3 megapixels, it doubles really well as a camera for stills. You will not be getting dual native ISO or low light performance that is anywhere near the GH5S. However, the GH5 is probably the only camera that can somewhat hold a candle to the GH5S right now if we consider form factor, features, and price, or at least comes close. Third is the Sony Alpha 6500. We have a 24.2 megapixel APS-C size sensor, lightning quick hybrid autofocus, Sony S-Log video profiles out of the box. We even get a super 35mm mode that crops the sensor accordingly. This is and has been one of the best cameras for video since its launch. With a larger sensor, you would think that this camera would be better than the GH5 and GH5S we have in first and second place. Though where Sony cameras usually fall short is with the video recording options. We simply don't get as many bitrate options for your videos, so quality isn't as high as some of the offerings from Panasonic. Another thing to consider is that this camera only records 8-bit natively, which simply doesn't cut it anymore in 2018. If you're recording video in log gamma profiles, you want as much color information as possible from the camera sensor, which you simply don't get with the Sony offerings. For those reasons, the Sony mirrorless cameras fall behind the GH5 and the GH5S. This is still a very good camera though, and a great bargain for the price. Fourth, we have the Sony Alpha 6300, which is the predecessor to the 6500, so think of it as a slightly toned down version. We still have the same 24.2 megapixel APS-C size sensor with outstanding low light performance, quick hybrid autofocus, 4K and S-Log picture profiles. To be completely honest, this is probably the best deal here at $800 for the body. The A6500 and A6300 are almost identical. The changes are incremental. You do not get 5-axis image stabilization like you do on the A6500, though I doubt that that's really a deal breaker for anybody. Finally on my list we have the Panasonic G85. This goes for $900 with a kit lens. You get a 16 megapixel micro four thirds sensor, 5-axis image stabilization, and decent battery life. Now I will admit that you won't be getting Panasonic's V-Log gamma profile or any of the high bit rates and color depth options that you get on the GH5 or GH5S. However, this is still a very good option in 2018. You have Cine like D and V picture profiles, which are flat picture profiles that can help you achieve that cinematic look, which is nice, but you still won't be getting the kind of dynamic range a proper gamma profile will give you. Overall, I really like this camera because the price tag isn't too intimidating. It's a good option to start off from and work your way from there. So there you have it folks, those are my top 5 mirrorless cameras for videography in 2018. Now as you can see, the price range varies and of course your final decision will most likely depend on price. You will not be disappointed with any of these cameras because they are all very capable. Always remember that sometimes it's probably more effective to focus on the creative and storytelling side of any video rather than purchasing the most expensive camera with all the great features and specs but no story. At the end of the day, you will need to inevitably tell a good story whether or not you're shooting on a $3,000 camera. Thanks for watching, and I hope that this video has been helpful to you. Please leave a like or a comment, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as turn on notifications for more videos like this. Catch you folks in the next one.